Hello, everybody. Welcome to Lending America. Today, I invited my friend Sia to join us to talk about her experience with the US. Sia comes from Germany, but she has visited the US on several occasions. Welcome, Sia.
Hi, Tatiana. Thank you for having me.
Of course, it's a pleasure. So, tell us, Sia, what do you do? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Of course. I'm coming from Germany. I'm born German. And I'm living right now in Amsterdam. But I used to live here in, Florida for about 3 years. And now I'm going back and forth sometimes to visit friends. And like I do right now, I come for conferences as well. So I work in the Web3 universe. So I build ecosystems, especially for green tech companies. And yeah, that's what I do.
Tell us about your first visit to the US.
What brought me first to the US? Well,
Yes.
that was actually quite a long time ago. So the first time I visited the US, I also visited actually Florida, which was Boca Raton. Back then, literally, I think 13 years ago. So I'm 28 now, so quite half of my life ago. And I did a summer school at the Lynn University for about 8 weeks. It was like an exchange program, or not an exchange program, but like a summer program. So that's how I kind of got in contact to the US for like the first time, besides traveling with the family. And yeah, I've kind of fell in love with the place. Really like the weather here. Coming from Germany, it's a bit cold there. Or it can be. So yeah, I stayed. I came back. I applied for, first I applied for a school in Florida actually, and I got accepted. And then I just decided to come here for a year. Really liked it, and yeah, finished my high school here actually.
How many years?
So overall, I stayed almost 3 years. 2 years I lived on campus because I went to a boarding school, and I really liked it. I stayed there, and I used to have a relationship back then. So there was after high school, when you're kind of trying to figure out what you're going to do with your life. I was thinking if I'm going to stay here or if I should go back to Europe. And if you're not a citizen, of course, you have all those kind of giant amounts of money you have to pay in order to be educated here, especially in the States. So yeah, I really wanted to stay. So there I looked at different ways to be able to. But before, like while I was doing so, I was going back and forth between Germany and Miami actually for about a year, yeah.
So, what was necessary for you to, if you remember, because you were, what, 16 years old probably?
Yeah.
Do you remember what did you have to do before you got here and before you got accepted to the high school in the US? What was the process? And also, how much did it cost you?
I started off with actually just looking through high schools which would even take boarding students because I was a bit scared of staying with a host family. I've had friends who did that for a certain amount of time or for an exchange, and some of them had unfortunately some not so nice experiences. So I kind of wanted to play it safe and look for boarding schools. And in order to do so, for myself, that had nothing to do with the school, but I wanted to be safe in like the German education system. So there I had the possibility to kind of do an in-between graduation. So I would just have like an external graduation there. I looked at schools which even offered a boarding program. I wanted to go back to Florida. I was also considering Hawaii actually for a while because my sister used to go to a school there.
Okay.
So yeah, but I decided I wanted to do Florida and try my own thing, my own world, and I applied for St. Andrews and another school, but I did end up getting accepted in both. And I needed an I-20 for it, I think. That was the visa back then, which was a student visa, of course. So that one was fine. Someone just had to sign it. And I don't remember how much I had to pay for it, to be honest. I'm not sure if I had to pay for it. But if so, my parents did pay for it back then because, I was 15. I was actually not even 16 back then. And yeah. Then besides that, the school was pretty expensive, I gotta say. Like looking back now, I don't even know. Well, I mean, I'm just very grateful that my parents got me this kind of support and that they were able to afford this because it's not something usual, and I'm definitely not taking it for granted. Because especially nowadays, where education is not available for everyone, and especially in the States where you have to pay a lot for it. I'm super grateful that they were able to, yeah, gift me with this experience, or that I was able to do this in this young age, right? Because with 15, usually it's not a common thing.
How was the experience of going to high school in America?
It was quite crazy, I would say, because okay, many people have asked me that question, like, how is it different? Is it like in the movies? Because especially coming from Europe, you see all that. Like, well, I grew up seeing all those movies where you had like house parties and kind of like drama going on, and everything was like, yeah, like High School Musical, like in a way, I would say. And I'm not gonna lie, Boca Raton is quite a bubble, and this scene I was kind of thrown into, I would say it's not like the standard scene. It's a lot of rich people, like very rich people, and it was it was a tiny bit actually like being in a movie. Like I went to crazy house parties because people had crazy properties, right? And it was all kind of trying to not get caught by the police. Me coming from Germany, I was allowed to drink since I'm like 16 officially. I've definitely had my first blackout way before that. Yeah, I hope my parents are not seeing this. But besides that, it was so weird to me to arrive here and not be able to like just get a beer or something. So I had to get used to that, and that you also have to hide it. There were moments where I was at a house party and people were like, "Oh my God, be quiet, the police is coming, like the outside, everyone goes down, shut the lights, shut the music." So it was a tiny bit like in those movies to a certain point. And regarding the high school drama with guys, yeah, there was actually, high school is just hormones are going crazy. Life is just on the edge of you not having to worry about actually financially supporting yourself, but you still feel like being a grown up and super independent, even though you're not. So yeah, it was a cool experience. I really liked it. I learned a lot. It was quite a challenge arriving here because I barely spoke any English. Like my English was horrible.
I doubt it.
Seriously, no. I arrived here and my English was, I could say who I am. And I'm hi, I'm Sia, I'm from Germany. And then I could do like a few basic things which you learned in school, but it was not how it is now, or that I was so comfortable speaking it.
Did you feel included socially?
Yeah, it was quite actually when I arrived first, because we had this icebreaker program, so international students, because we used to have like I think 120 different nations at our boarding program, or within the boarding program, which is amazing if you think about it. Like so, it was super cool. I met people from all over the world, and I'm still talking to like a few of my friends, which are now spread all over the world. So for me, that's amazing. I can go places, I can visit them since I'm working remote. Sometimes I just like right now, I'm coming to States. I'm staying with friends here. I'm still working on the side with the time difference. That's all right. So it's pretty cool. Like I'm grateful for this experience. High school definitely paid off in many ways.
What about education level? You came from Germany, being schooled in Germany, and then suddenly you're in America. Did you feel any difference?
So I definitely felt a difference, but to be fair, in Germany I also didn't attend like a classical school system. I went to a Montessori school, which is also a private school, so I got very lucky to be able to kind of study under the philosophy of Maria Montessori. I don't know what you know about her concept, but she kind of believes, or her philosophy is that we're learning with all of our senses, and the slogan is kind of like help me to learn how to do it myself. So she believes that kids just naturally are very curious, and you should just let them do in order to explore and learn. And it's not about putting them in classrooms and just having them memorize things and just spitting it out later on. It's literally about exploring life and in a natural way, I would say. So that's also not the normal education system in Germany, right? But it was amazing. I have had amazing experience. Like back then, we were supposed to have like a graduation project each year, where you pick a topic of your interest and you have to do like a practical part, but then also a theoretical part where you write like a report about whatever you do, whatever topic, and then you pitch the whole thing in front of your class and the parents, and it's like a big fair. And because you have been doing this since fifth grade, or I've been doing this since fifth grade, it kind of felt normal, and it really did help me later on in life yeah, to feel comfortable talking in front of people. You know, I was not as nervous as other people, for example. But then I think it also depends, of course, of what kind of type you are. But that was something I really enjoyed. And yeah, you had smaller classes, which is also, you know, a privilege, because nowadays, especially like normal schools, you have at least 25 students together and a teacher, like one single teacher. Teaching is just not enough attention for everyone, I guess. So I'm very grateful.
So that's the German part.
So exactly, that
Okay.
was the German school. And then compared to the American school system, which I got to enjoy, which is also very privileged, right? Because it was an elite school, or it is an elite school, so it's very high education. Like it has very good teachers. We, yeah, like I said, there was a lot of money behind it, so we had amazing events. It was, I mean, we had Justin Bieber perform at our school. Like, think about that. That's like insane. I don't even like. That's so surreal. I'm sorry. Like, I'm laughing about this because, you know, if you tell that to someone, you're like, what? Like, crazy.
Yeah.
Even though I'm not a, or I was not a big JB fan back then, but I just, the thought of it, you know, crazy. But besides that, the education, like the impact, I would say is quite different, because the system here is more based on credits. So you have like the basic credit system, or like the basic courses which you have to take, which it's like algebra 2 and like English basic skills, like those kind of stuff. But then you can kind of get more credits which you need to have through choosing classes which are more in like your interests. So if you're good in math, you can take like other math classes in order to get your credits, or you can do art classes. And also you have to do sports credits, which I really like, because it kind of like, you know, helps you to first of all stay fit, but also to kind of connect to other students besides the educational purpose. So I really like that aspect, like compared to, for example, in Germany, we don't have something like that at all. You have a plan of like usually what needs to be studied, what needs to be tested at the end, and you have to have a certain average grade in order to pass, and you either do or you don't. And I think it's very outdated, like at least the standard school system in Germany. And so I really like the system itself, how it's structured here. Impact wise, I gotta say, it was focused a lot, of course, on America, because I had like US history and all those kind of things, which was amazing for me because I already had the privilege of getting to know all the history of Europe, you know, and kind of like having this history already in my head. So I kind of got to learn about a new world, which was pretty new to me. I mean, I knew about like, you know, the basic things, but I didn't know it. I didn't know that much about the Civil War, for example, as detailed as I did after the classes. But I did kind of miss the overall impact of like also the rest of the world.
The general knowledge.
Yeah, the general knowledge. So I think it was focused a lot on like the basics and kind of like, you know, giving a standard package as well, but it had not enough depth maybe. But then also, you know, it's high school. Me personally, I do believe back then you have so many other problems than what kind of classes you're taking, you know, because your head is somewhere else. You're still developing, you're still full of hormones, you kind of don't know what's happening. It's way more interesting to know the news gossip or like who dates whom than actually, you know, like, oh yeah, I passed algebra 2 and good job, kind of, you know, or what happened in English and like those kind of things. So yeah.
How did you feel when you finished those 3 years? Did you want to go back to Europe, or did you feel like you want to stay here?
So to be fair, it was I finished after 2 years, right? I kind of finished like I graduated from high school after 2 years, because I only did 11th and 12th grade there, so junior and senior year. I did not want to go back actually, because I mentioned the relationship I've had, and I really tried to actually stay here. But that also meant more money I would have to invest into my education, which wouldn't be my money, right? It would be my parents' money again. And I was 18 back then, or almost 18, and I didn't want that. I didn't want them to invest that much money into my education after they have already done that, just because I want to stay there for love. I know this sounds very stupid, but I mean, I was 18. Even though I really liked that guy, I tried to like find different ways. So what I did is like I knew I needed a green card in order to stay here, right? Or like some kind of visa. So I attended the lottery. I signed up for the lottery a few times, you know. because I also played with the thought of actually joining maybe the military side. Like I was very interested in flying, so I wanted to be a helicopter pilot.
That's interesting.
Yeah, super cool. And I thought maybe, I read about, like, I did some research. So I read about that you could actually join the military and learn a certain field, like, for example, being a pilot. And then they would pay your education later on when you would go to college. But you would first go to the army, and then, you have this serving time. But you can only do that when you're a citizen or owner of a green card. So that was kind of the path I was looking at and kind of trying to do. But yeah, it didn't work out. I didn't get the green card, and also the relationship didn't work out at the end. So I stayed in Europe, actually. I moved to the Netherlands at some point, and yeah.
That brings me to another question I had for you. Could you imagine your life living in the US? And if yes, or if not, why?
I could definitely see myself living in the US again. So I would say I'm a free spirit. Currently, I've been changing my location every 3 weeks for the past, 17 months, I think. I've done like 19 countries, not on purpose, it just happens like randomly. But I do have the urge to kind of actually find a place lately. So I would like to arrive somewhere. And besides that, the US is definitely a great place for me because I love Florida. I have a lot of friends here, so it's not like I'm actually a stranger to this place. So I could imagine maybe moving back here. But then you have also the kind of challenges, what comes with it. For example, like insurance, time differences, because currently the company I'm working for is actually based in Munich. So it would be 6 hours time difference, which is doable. It's not so bad, but you have to consider that as well, and family and everything. So I could imagine maybe for love at one point. You never know. But right now, I think since I'm still finishing up my second bachelor right now in Amsterdam, I'm gonna do that first, and then I will just see where it's pulling me to. And yeah, but I can definitely see myself at some period of my life being back here in the States.
Where have you been traveling these past months?
Oof, good question. So I started off. I started working for this company in Belgium, actually, where I did an internship for my graduation or for my university. I was in Portugal, in Antwerp, or like in Belgium. I flew into Japan. I had an amazing time in Asia in general. Like Japan was the second time I got to be there. It was beautiful. I love the culture. I love the food. It's just so cool. And but also, super strange because I guess it's just so different. That's maybe also the reason why I like it there. And then I went to Thailand. I came back to Europe. I've been to Spain, Italy, many more countries which I cannot think of right now. Finland.
Is there any country that you can also imagine living in out of those countries that you visited? Because you're an experienced traveler, so you can compare maybe.
I think so far I don't have a place where I'm like, yeah, I really want to live there. I think every place brings their pros and cons with it. Also, it depends what kind of experience you have made at the places in order to feel a certain way about them. I could definitely see myself in a Spanish-speaking country, simply because I do speak Spanish to a certain degree. Portugal would also be an option, simply because I love it and I have a big friend group there, or people I really like, and also I can surf there, so it's amazing. But my Portuguese is just not good at all, so that would be a challenge. But I could also do Italy, probably. I'm practicing Italian currently. Yeah, so to answer your question, I can definitely see myself in living in different countries in the future, but I do not have a place which is calling me right now.
So you have mentioned you've been dating in the US as well. Could you compare maybe guys in the US with the guys in Europe?
Okay, that's yeah, sure. I think
Let's get some juicy stuff now.
it's okay. I mean, there's definitely culture difference for sure. Like coming from Europe and kind of also from Germany, I guess, because also within Europe you have different cultures which have different principles, I guess, or just different ways of dating. I've experienced lots of love, and I think that's what matters at the end. It was always different kind of love, but I think Europeans, without offending any Americans, they're just a bit more aware, meaning it's a bit more in depth. I feel like not everyone, of course, and I'm pretty sure there are also Americans out there which do really go into depth. I'm just based on my experience. It's very fast living here in the States. Like a lot of dating apps, a lot of kind of you only get to know your partner through other friends, or maybe if you're lucky partying, I guess. But it's very rare that you actually, someone just goes up to you and talks to you and be like, hey, not just how you're doing, but actually you're like, oh, I think you're great, let's go out. But maybe it was also the time I lived here, right? And I dated, that was high school. So maybe people were still super shy, and it was just because of that. Now coming back after dating in Europe, and I've dated a bit, I would say, in those 10 years. I have not been in the US or not lived in the US. It's different, but it's still amazing. So it also depends on the person you're seeing and the circumstances as well. Sometimes the timing can just be off, even though it's the right person. Other times it can be, perfect timing, everything would fit, but you just can't find the right person, or it just doesn't work out for whatever reason. But I personally am that kind of person. I do believe that any kind of relationship, so also friendship or with family or whatever, need a certain amount of attention and communication. And I do feel like I got very lucky with all of the people I've met so far, even though I do think that, like I said, Americans are a bit more shallow without, judging. I just feel like this is kind of like you have more the cliche maybe also, like, girls being girls. If you do have a relationship as a guy, you probably will get to see your boys less, because she wants you to stay home. You cannot have a game night or something, or you have to just have a game, like a boys game night or something. Which, me personally, I don't think it's healthy for a relationship. Doesn't matter if you're American or like dating here, or if you're European. I think everyone should have their freedom in order to do what they think it's important to do by themselves as an individual, but also through great communication as a couple. But yeah.
You mentioned you had experience dating in the south of Europe. Is there any difference with maybe German guys?
Definitely yes. More passion and fire, I would say, simply because of
Of the sun, it's much hotter down there.
I don't know where it's coming from. Could be. Maybe it's also the food they're eating. I don't know, man. Could be anything. Maybe it's also the amount of sun they're getting, because actually if you look, like, living in the Netherlands, there's not so much sun, and I feel like it does has an effect on people. And compared to like Italians or Spanish people, yeah, the attitude is different, of course. So maybe it's the sun, I don't know. But besides that, I do think Germans are more reserved, definitely. They take more time, they're more careful in a way. Italians or Spanish guys usually are more temperamental and just, more passionate and just go for it. They're also more, I would say, like me, like my character, meaning I just talk or share what I feel, and sometimes that's like oversharing to a certain point. But that's just how I am, and I have a lot of emotion and or many emotions, and I do, of course, I try to not drama dump, but I'm also an overthinker, so I'm talking a lot. I need this communication, and I think you have way more a talkative culture over there, where Italians talk a lot, Spanish people talk a lot, Germans usually are not known for talking a lot. So I guess that's probably the main difference, a bit more communication and more passion, I would say. But then also, maybe I just haven't found the right German yet. With a lot of passion.
Is there any other place in the US on your bucket list that you would like to visit?
Definitely. There's so much more I want to see in the US, but right now I unfortunately don't have the time to, or I could probably have the time or manage my time in order to go around. I still have kind of this idea of taking a car and doing a big road trip, but I would prefer to do that with someone, and not necessarily like a partner, but maybe even family or so, like my sister or my brother. But yeah, I think I would prefer to do that with someone, going around and having those kind of memories being created, because the US has a lot to offer,
It does.
even though it's just one one country.
But it's huge.
It's huge, exactly. Like
So much
Europe,
bigger than Europe.
exactly. Europe is like, I mean, you have all those kind of different countries next to each other, and it's like, oh yeah, I go to Italy this weekend, and I go to Spain that weekend, and yeah, during the week I'm also in Paris, and like whatever, you know. But it's literally sometimes just taking a car for like, or like a train for like 3 hours somewhere. And here, even just, you know, when I was living in Florida, going 3 hours in Florida, it doesn't matter which direction, you're still in Florida.
Yeah.
So, but it's also a very big state. So yeah, but there's definitely more I want to see.
Okay, well, good luck with that. Hopefully, we'll see you around soon again. Thank you so much for accepting the invitation to this podcast and for sharing your insights and experiences with the schooling system as well as the culture and dating.
Thank you so much for having me. I really, really enjoyed being here. It was super cool. I hope I could give you some insights and that you know, had fun listening. Thank you for having me.
Thank you.
Really enjoyed it.